Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Canvas Live. Canvas Live sessions are presented by people like you, members of the Canvas community, who generously share their knowledge with other members of the Canvas community to help Canvas users improve and enhance their teaching and learning with Canvas. With us today is Ryan Seelhammer. Ryan is going to demonstrate the Canvas teacher app for you. And with that, and with no further ado, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Ryan.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I can't see your chat, so I'm having Stephanie translate everything for me. So the questions that you ask, I'll have breaks during this session so I can pause, and if there's any questions I can answer, I'll answer them in those breaks. But let's go ahead and jump right in. So today's session is Canvas Teacher App. Let's facilitate. My name is Ryan Seelhammer, as we said before. I'm an instructional designer at the University of Central Florida, and you can find me pretty regularly on Twitter. I also co-admin the Canvas Mobile User Group inside the Canvas community. So if you haven't found that already, go and check that out. So let's jump right in. So the Canvas Teacher App. Canvas Teacher App is a completely new app. It's redesigned. You'll notice the redesign. It's not a recycled. It's not recycled from an older application. It was built from the bottom up. You'll see this in the redesigned inbox, specifically announcements and discussions. It gives you the ability to update and view content and settings. So that is the focus of the app. And it gives you better tools to monitor students' progress. So context cards, which will be available soon, being able to see a snapshot of how the student's doing in the class, and having the ability to message students to find out students that looking at a submission and seeing where they're at and filtering those submissions and being able to contact them. And of course, if not most importantly, SpeedGrader support to be able to do SpeedGrader. Now, I did want to address some of the questions that I've seen in the community about the application before we get started. Actually, we'll get to that in just a second. Let me talk about the let me talk a little bit more about the app. So it's available for iPhone and iPad, iOS 10 and above. This is worth noting because this is the first app I think Canvas has released that requires iOS 10 or above. Generally, it's iOS 9. So older phones and tablets may not work. It works for Android phones and tablets with 5.0 and above. And worth noting, with the release of the Teacher app, SpeedGrader, the standalone app that was available for iPad and Android, is no longer available. If you already have it on your device, you can continue to use it, but there won't be no further updates. And also, there's a small app called Teacher Tools on Android, and that's no longer available as well. I think don't want to confuse people looking for the Teacher app. Now let's go ahead to those questions I was talking about. So some people ask, where is this? And I do want to address this up front, so maybe it would answer some of your questions already. So what's not there yet in the Teacher app? Well, a few things aren't there, like modules, pages, files, and people. You can still access all that information inside the student app, the Red app as I call it. So if you still have that Red application downloaded and you're a teacher, it's still worth having on your device, especially because it's going to be your student view for the foreseeable future as well. So I would suggest that you don't turn off that device just yet. Or sorry, get rid of the app just yet. And the next one is creation of graded assignments. You can't create any graded assignments. You'll notice that in like the discussions. In discussions, you can create discussions, but they aren't graded discussions. There's no attendance tool linked up into this application. Right now, there's no notifications. So this is another reason to have that old Red app, the student app as we call, so you can continue to receive notifications. There's no direct gradebook access, but when the context cards are available, hopefully here soon, you'll be able to see most of the students or all the students' grade performance in one place. And the last one is full support for third-party SpeedGrader tools. You'll see some information when we talk about SpeedGrader. You'll see some of the information from like Turnitin, but it's definitely not full-featured, and it's something that hopefully will be improved over time. So some of this stuff isn't here yet, so I just wanted to answer that. So let's talk about what it does have. Like I said, again, it has an inbox. It gives you the ability to create announcements, discussions, quizzes, assignments, and of course, grade with SpeedGrader. But let's explain this app a little bit more, since you know what's there, what's not there now. And this is how I like defining the Canvas Teacher app. I took this from the mobile product manager because I really like the idea of how to explain this. So if you look at a course has, you have the before the course starts, and then you have after during the course. So before the course, you're going to spend a lot of time in the web creating assignments, quizzes, doing your outcomes, organizing your modules, and essentially creating that content, those pages. But after the course starts, you're worrying about communication. You're sending your announcements, you're editing settings, you're changing due dates, and you're doing a lot of grading. So the Canvas Teacher app focuses on that facilitation portion of it. And that facilitation portion is what you see right there, which is a large portion of your class. And with that, I'm going to spend the majority of today just going over Canvas Teacher, just running a demo, just showing you some of the features inside it, and I'll pause at different times so you can ask questions. But without further ado, let's jump in. So I'm going to switch my screen here. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. All right. So this is what the Teacher app looks like once you log in. I'm going to use an iPad for my demonstration just because it's a little bit larger and it's a little bit easier to use with SpeedGrader. So when you look here, it's the dashboard you would think about. Here's a list of your courses. I can edit my favorites. So if I tap edit in the top right corner, it brings up a list of my courses. And let's say right here in the center, I have this Intro to Panda. Maybe I don't want that in my favorites. Just tap, unstar it. Now it's gone. Now I have one less course. But maybe I have buyer's remorse and I want to add it back. I can go ahead and tap it. And now it's been added back right here in the center. It's the purple icon right here in the center. It's hard for me to point these things out, so try to follow along as closely as possible. It allows me to do things like change course colors. Maybe I'm feeling like this is should be orange. And I can also change the nickname of courses. So maybe I want to say not just a panda, but pandas. We want to learn about all pandas. Is there more than just one panda? That's the question. So anyways, so I can change this. Just keep in mind that the nickname is not seen by the student. It's only seen by the user. So if you change that, you're not changing the name of the course. The name of the course is still below there in gray text. Moving on in the bottom, we're going to move on and go to Inbox. Now, Inbox is exactly what you expect. It's pretty much the same inbox you had before, just I would say a lot more refined, a lot easier to look at, and a lot faster. So a general overview. So you look along the top, you have all, you have unread, starred, sent, and you have archived as well. So you can split the mail up into different sections. You can also tap on course filter right next to the course. I'll go ahead and do that again, this filter, which is really great because now you can just filter it out by different courses. So maybe I want to look at the Intro to Pandas, and I can look at just the mail that I have inside of those. And if I want to tap on an assignment, or sorry, I want to tap on a mail item and look at a message, I can do a couple things over here, like I can star this. And also if I tap this kebab menu right there along the top, I can forward and I can even delete this message. So I'm going to go ahead and create a message real fast just so you can see it. So if I hit plus here in the top corner, right next to the right of the Canvas icon, I can select the course. I'm going to do my Intro to Pandas. I'm going to select 2. I'm going to send this to Annie. I can type in my subject. And I can send it right there. I can also send to individual students, send individual messages or not. The one thing I did want to note is that attaching media is not available on iOS right now, but it is available on Android. So that is one difference that you'll see right there as well. So I'll go ahead and send this off. And there we go. And if I check my sent, there are my filters. Check my sent, you can see the sent right there. Simple as that. So that's Inbox. So let me go ahead and jump into a course. So I'm going to use this biology course for the rest of my examples. You can see right here. As you can see, it actually supports the course card images as well, which is really, really nice. So I'm going to tap here, and when I open up the course, it will look like this. You can see those right here on the left side. You can see the different features that I was talking about. We're going to go right down the line. So the first thing I am going to talk about is I'm going to talk about announcements. So when we look at announcements, you'll see an announcement list straight off. So when you go ahead, you can go ahead and create a new announcement by hitting the plus right at the top, just like you could an inbox, creating a new inbox. And what's really good about this is you can type in a title. So I can say hello again. But what I really like about this application is for the first time in a mobile application for Canvas, you have formatting capability. So I can say hello. Maybe I want to add a list, do this, do that, do this too. And I could even do things like add links in there as well. So maybe I want to tap on a link. Maybe I'll go to apple.com, hit OK. And I have all this formatting. I could even come in here now and I could say, I want to make this purple and I want to bold it. So, that's not the whole, that's not every format that you can do, but it gives you a little bit more capability to be able to edit some of those formats out. Another thing I like is the ability to turn on delayed posting. This is something that hasn't been available before in the student app. So if you need to set a comment or set an announcement for the future, you can go ahead and do that. Turn that on. You can set your date and you can post it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. Hit hello. And you can see my message right here. Even if I tap on the link, it opens up directly in the application, and I can view that as well. So that's an announcement. You can also, let's say you send an announcement out and realize there was a mistake. Let's look at this week 2 announcement. You can see right here on the first line, it says welcome to week 1. Well, I said week 2, so it's welcome to week 2. So in the top right corner in the kebab menu, if you tap that, you have a couple different options. If I tap edit, I now have the ability to come down in here and write 2. I could even set delay posting and do other options as well. I hit done. That's it. It's immediately updated, and the students would see that update as well. Pretty simple. So that's announcements. But before I get into the assignment tools of the app, I'm going to pause for a minute and just see if anyone has any questions that they'd like answered.
Ryan, we have one question, but the question is relevant to SpeedGrader, so it might be something that we'll want to hold off on until the next part of your presentation.
Yeah, I'll go through SpeedGrader pretty thoroughly, so but we can get that in a couple minutes.
Thanks, but Brian, I see your question, and we will get to it. We're just going to get to it in the next section. Thanks. That's the only question so far.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and move on then. So the next thing we're going to talk about is I'm going to back out of here, and we're going to talk about discussions. So if I tap on discussions, you'll notice one thing with the iPad I'll show you is that it keeps on the right side the last screen you had on that right side. So the only way really to get out of that is to tap on a new section and tap on an item in the section. So if that already confused you, that confused you a little bit more. So anyway, so let's look at this. So when you look at the list here on the left side, you can do a few things already. If you tap the kebab next to a discussion, you can unpin or pin discussions. Maybe I want to pin this again. And I can also close for comments. And I can open it back up for comments. So there's a couple different options that you can have right there directly on the discussion list. It also shows you how many points each item's worth and how many replies that you've had as well. So let me jump into one of these discussions. I'll do the welcome to class. And the welcome to class here, this is a graded discussion. So you're going to see some different information. You're going to see the title. You're going to see if it's published or unpublished, the due dates. You'll see all the submissions. I'm not going to get into the submissions just yet. I'll get that near SpeedGrader. But this is the list of submissions and these really nice, easy to read dials. Below it, you have your description. This is a description that you'd put in. And then below that, you have your replies. You have your discussions. So at this point, as an instructor, I can go in, I can edit, or I can reply to anyone. And if I tap reply, it'll bring up the same editor you see everywhere else. I can type something in, and I can also format as well. So this allows me to jump right into the discussion. And in the top corner here, you'll see these kebabs again. If I tap the kebab up here, I can edit this. So let's say I wanted to go and edit some information in this. I could go ahead and edit the description. It will keep the images there for me. I can go ahead and I can change some of the different settings in there. So discussion support turning on, allow threaded replies, you can subscribe, users must post before seeing replies, points, displays points as, and you can also assign different due dates to the different students in your class. So if you want to create a discussion, like I said before, up here on the top, this allows me to create a discussion, and I can put all that information in there that we just talked about before that you could edit. The one thing I did want to note, again, is two things. One, you cannot create graded discussions just yet inside the teacher app. I'm not sure if that will be available in the future or not, but you can't do that right now. So all the discussions you create are ungraded. You could essentially create a discussion here, leave it unpublished, and then you could go back on the web and actually add a grade to it. Or you could change the, you could create a graded discussion on the web, and maybe you don't know the points yet. You could create that, put in the application that you could change the points in the application. So there's a couple different ways to do that. And one other thing to note is that Android supports attaching images directly to a reply, but right now iOS doesn't support that. So if you're trying to do that on iOS, that's the reason why it won't work. All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump down to quizzes. So quizzes are very similar to most assignments that we looked at. So when you're looking at the quiz list, you'll see different things like the due date. You'll be able to see how many points the quiz was worth, and you'll also be able to see how many questions are in the quiz. So let me go ahead and look at the quiz on this side. And I think this looks very similar to what you would see on the discussion side as well. The one big thing is that you get this information about the different quiz settings, like quiz type, assignment groups, etc. But you can also preview the quiz. So let's say student contacts you and says there's a problem with the question. You can go directly in and start previewing that quiz. And you can see what will happen. Now you can't change the questions, and you can't edit questions inside the teacher app. You can only change quiz settings. You can't actually change individual items inside the quiz. So this would be purely just for viewing and being able to see it, and even testing out a question. Let's say maybe you notice an issue at this point in this quiz. You might want to tap edit at the top, and you could immediately unpublish the quiz until you can get to a computer and change those questions. So not a perfect solution, but at least gives you something where you can immediately hit a kill switch till you can make those changes. So you can't create quizzes, as we already talked about, inside of the teacher app, but you can edit. So a couple things that you have the title. You can, of course, edit the description. This description is a little weird because it actually pops out into a new window, unlike the other ones. You can change the quiz type in many different settings. iOS has a lot of different settings that you can change. Right now, Android is limited to only a few, only 2 or 3 settings, but that should change hopefully in the future as well. So you can change a lot of different things. So you can change different attempts, the quiz score to keep, let students see their responses from their quiz responses. So, think about those times that you get contacted as a teacher and you realize there's this one little setting inside a quiz, in particular a quiz because they have a lot of settings, that is just not right. And now you'll be able to pull out your smartphone or your tablet and be able to change those. The last thing I do want to show you, and this is available in assignments and this is available in discussions, but I did want to show you here, is the ability to assign a due date to a different to an individual student or a group of students. So at the bottom here under assign to, you'll see where it says add date. And now what I can do is I can change an assignee. So in this class, I can come in here and say, maybe Annie needs a little bit more time. So now one student, and I can actually now change the due date. Let's say the due date is now going to be instead of March, as is here, maybe it's August 17th. And when I hit done, you'll notice that that changes as well. So at this point, if I come back into edit, you'll see that I have a different a due date for Annie than I do any other student. You can set that for a group of students or an individual student. And like I said, you can do that in quizzes, assignments, and discussions that are graded. And the last section I want to talk about before I get into SpeedGrader is assignments. So assignments are very similar to what you have on the web. They are a list of anything that can be graded. So you have your quizzes, your discussions, and of course your assignments, anything that has a grade to it. So one thing you'll notice is that what they call grading pills. They kind of look like pills. You'll see it here, like maybe next to the biology group assignment, about 4 down, you'll see a little pill, and inside it says 8 need graded. As I scroll down, you'll see 1 needs graded or 6 need graded. And that's a really quick visual for you as a teacher to be able to go in and say, I need to do something. I need to take an action without having to kind of jump in and out of each one of these trying to figure out what you need to do. So I really think that's a really neat visual. So I'm going to go ahead and look at an assignment. We're going to take this favorite animal assignment. So when we look at this assignment here, it's very similar to what we saw before. You get the settings that you would like to see. Only difference here is that the submission type is shown, and you still see the description and all the information about it. If you tap up here in the corner to edit, you can go ahead and edit anything you want with it. Not anything you want, but you can edit these settings as well. So maybe you want to change the points, or maybe you want to display it as something different, or you want to publish or unpublish, or assign a different due date. You can do that. But what I want to focus on in this section, and this is available, of course, in anything that's graded in discussions or quizzes, is this submission section right here. And these are called dials, and just makes sense. They're round dials. And it gives you a quick visual on what is going on with this assignment in regards to grading and submissions. So you can see from here, I have 6 that have been graded, 6 need to be graded, and 2 have not submitted. So if I tap on those individual dials, I will see the students enter those criterias. Or if you look at the arrow all the way to the right, if I tap on that, it will show me all submissions. So let me go ahead and tap on all submissions. And now you can see the submissions list for this assignment. You can see the student's name, you can see a list of names, and you can even see their statuses, and their grades, and the grading status. So a couple different things. You can see Annie is late at the top, and she has 0 points. But if I look at Jin down here, I can see that she has submitted, but it also needs grading. So this gives me a lot of different information. And it puts it's nice and color coded, so it's really easy to find. But maybe I just want to see certain students filtered out by a specific criteria. So I can come up here and I can tap filter, and it shows me all the different ways I can filter this. You can filter this by 8 different ways or 7 different ways in iOS and Android. So let's say maybe I just want to see everyone who hasn't submitted yet. Well, these are the 3 students who haven't submitted yet. Maybe I want to find out why they haven't submitted yet. Maybe I want to reach out to them. Well, I can use the message students who to do that. If I tap the little icon here in the corner, the little envelope icon, brings up a message box. It auto-fills it in with the subject, and I can say, where's your assignment? And now I can go ahead and I can hit send. And it's now sent those students an individual message. And you notice the setting there for sending individual is not there, but it does send it to individual by default. That's only setting that you can have with there. And I think that's to make sure you're not accidentally sending something to the wrong student. And then the one last thing that I did want to show real fast, because people ask about it, I'll clear this filter out, is right here in the gear. It gives you the ability also to mute grades and do anonymous gradings as well. So I can see all my students are now anonymous, and I can see at the top the grades are muted. I'll go ahead and turn that off. With that, I'm going to take just a brief pause and see if there's any questions before I jump into the last section, which is SpeedGrader.
Okay, Ryan, we have one question that actually harks back to your first section about sending messages. And the question is it possible to send messages to individual sections through the app?
To individual sections, yeah. So let me go here. So I'll go ahead and create. So these are the different courses. So, but you're talking about individual sections of those courses, correct? So I'm not sure if we can do individual sections. I know we can do individual courses. So that's something I'm going to have to look at, and I'll put in the event when we're done. Does it sound good?
Yes, thank you, Ryan. That's perfect. I will also note that in the comments. We'll make sure that people know that we can have follow-up conversation in the comments section of the event later on.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show the last part, which is SpeedGrader, which is really, really neat. So the SpeedGrader app, the standalone app, is now gone, so or not available anymore, but it has been moved into the Teacher app. And what's really great about this is now you can do SpeedGrader also on the iPhone, which you couldn't do before. So it's available for all phones. It's available for iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and Android tablets as well. So it covers a wide array of devices. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So we'll stay in the subscription list because the submission list is your gateway into SpeedGrader. So I'm going to go ahead and filter this out, and I'm going to say haven't been graded. So I know a few people that haven't been graded. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Jen. And this is the SpeedGrader view. So in the SpeedGrader view, there's a couple things to look at. The first thing I'm going to focus on is this right side, and I'm going to focus on this grading tab. So the grading tab is simple enough. This is where you can grade. So a couple things to look at here is that I could simply come in here and I could tap plus, and I could put in a grade. That's it. Now she has a grade. I could tap on it again and say, you know, wait a minute, this student was excused. I can excuse the student. Or what I can do as well is maybe I want to use the rubric for grading. So let's say you have a rubric that is tied to this assignment. And let's say you've tied it, to the assignment so it will automatically grade while you tap for the rubric. That works in here as well. So let's say that she gets a 1 here, a 5 here, and a 3 there. You'll notice at the top where it says 9 by 10, 9 out of 10, this changes every time I tap on a different number. So that's really cool. So it'll give you the ability to do that. And if I swipe away and swipe back, you'll notice that the grade's there. As simple as that. So the minute I leave this page, either hit done or swipe away, that grade will be added in. So you might say, well, I forgot the criteria that I'm using for these. So you might say worksheet is complete here in the middle, but what does a 3 mean and what does a 5 mean? So if you long press, just keep your finger on it, it will give you that criteria. So you go, okay, a 3 means that they have completed it. And also long descriptions, view long descriptions. If you have long descriptions with your rubric, you can tap on it and it'll give you the long description. The one thing that's not here but is supported, that if you have free-form comments for your rubric where you just write stuff in there, that's available as well. And you'd be able to see that if you set that up on the web. The center part here is comments. So there's one example that I really like for comments. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use Annie. So in comments right here with Annie, you can see it looks really, really nice. It reminds me of something like Facebook Messenger or iMessages where it's very clean and it's easy to see who said what and what was turned in. So this is a running list of all interactions. So I can see Annie turned in this document on July 9th. I had a response, she had a response, and she actually returned back in the document as well on the 16th. The one thing that's not available inside Android or iOS at this point that was available on the previous app is there are no media comments. So you can't upload video or audio, or you can't create audio or video directly into SpeedGrader. So that is the one thing that is missing between the standalone version and this version. So just wanted to point that out in case you were looking for that. And the last section over here in the tabs is files. So this will show you all the files that are associated with the assignments. So if there was multiple ones, you could tap through these so you could grade them over on the left side. All right, so let's talk about annotations. Annotations are really, really, really neat inside of SpeedGrader. So I want to go ahead and I want to annotate on Annie's document over here. So I have a couple different things. The first one over here on the top, I'm going to tap on this, and this is called the add point annotation. So it allows me to add notes directly into this document. So if I want to say right here, I want to tap right next to, there we go, right next to Panda Bear, and I want to type in something, I can type in something, and I can hit send. And there you go. So I can now, what I can do with this is I can add more notes to it if I want. If I tap on it again, I can add even more notes. And I could even move this around if I want to as well. So if I want to move it over here or over here, I can do that as well. So that's simple as that. That's called add point annotation. The next one is highlights. This one is called the highlight annotation. It does exactly what you would think it would do. It allows you to highlight the text. So I can come through here and I can highlight this text. I can even tap on it afterwards, and I can actually even add more notes. I can add notes directly to this. I can even change the colors if I wanted to. I could copy it, and I can delete it from there as well. So pretty simple. I'm going to keep it back at this orange color so we can see it. The next one's called text annotation, and this allows me to add a text box directly anywhere in here. So maybe next to some more information, I can write, this is good. I can even move this around if I want to. And when I tap on it, I also get a little bit more information. So I can edit this. I can even look at the inspector. Maybe I want to make sure that it's an orange font and it's a little bit larger. So it gives me the ability to add those text boxes in there. So maybe when I annotate, I don't annotate very well. I have the ability to be able to do that. Next one moving over is called strikeout. Simple as this. All I have to do is just like the highlight tool, I can just highlight a part of the text and it will let me strike it out. I can tap on it again and I can do things like change the colors. It went purple, and I can even add a note. I'm a tough grader, I guess. So a student can see those notes as well, and you can put a little note icon next to it. So that's strikeout. And the one that's is really neat is this this next one called the draw annotation. And this gives you the ability to write up directly on a document. So I could do a couple things. I could use it to write a circle. Maybe I want to circle the tapping away. Maybe I'm circling up there. Maybe I want to say something like, I have bad handwriting, so that's good. Good job. So it allows you to write directly on the document, allows you to have free-form access to the document. And this is really good if you like marking things up, basically freehand. The one thing you'll want to notice about this is that when the tool is turned on, the tool marks all these in kind of a set. What I mean by that is that if I tap on just one of these, let's say I turn this off, and I tap on one of these, you can see I can move all of them. And maybe that's not exactly what I want. Maybe I want to be able to individually change those at a different time. So what I can do to get around that is you turn it on, you circle, you tap away, and then you tap back again. This gives you the ability to use these as individual pieces now. I can come in here, I can add a note if I wanted to, and in this situation, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And this is really great experience with the Apple Pencil. So if you have an Apple Pencil with the iPad Pro, it's really easy. It's very fast to use, but you don't need that. You can use any stylus to be able to write directly on top of this document. And the last one I'm going to talk about is Add Area. Simple as that. It's very similar to the Freeform tool, except it really draws boxes instead of allowing you to draw whatever you want. So I can come down here with habitat loss, and I can simply just draw a box around it. And then I can also, when I'm done with it, I can tap on it, and I can add notes, and I can do different things as well. So maybe I want to make it blue or a different color. So those are the 6 different annotation types that are available. The only thing that's different for Android is that if you look here on the left side or the right side, you'll see these kind of curving arrows. Those are undo and redo. That is not available yet on the Android device, but is available on iOS. So if you make a mistake, it's a little easier to clean it up on iOS. And with that, that's the end of my demo. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the slides now. And we'll see if there's any questions.
All right, yes, Ryan, we do have a few questions, and just for all of you listening, I'm not necessarily taking them or relaying them in the order that you have put them in, but I will do my best to get to all of them. The first one is, when you're grading with a rubric, is the numerical choice arbitrary in the sense that you're limited to choosing if the rubric is 1, 3, 5, or can you enter a 4 or enter a 7 instead?
You, with the SpeedGrader app, you wouldn't be able to do that. But you could change the grade individually. So I'll go back to the demo here. So let's say I'm doing a grade here and I tap on here and let's say that's 9 out of 10. But let's say maybe I wanted to in here give them a 4 instead of a 5. I could tap up here and I could just change it to an 8. That's not really the best solution, but I still, even when I use the rubric, I still have the ability to change that. But there's no tool that I know of that. I don't think there's any way that you can actually individually change those grades. Let's see. Never mind, you can. So 5. Yep, there you go. My bad. I learned something new. See, I'm learning something all the time. So yeah, you could change that grade individually by hitting that plus button. Perfect. There you go. There's your answer.
Okay, the next question is with regard to filtering by section. Is it possible in SpeedGrader to filter the assignment submissions by section?
So filtering them by section. I need to test a little bit more with sections. I guess we got quite a few questions with that right now. Looking at this, I don't see any filtering for sections in here at all. But I wouldn't be surprised if they actually exist. So let me test some things out with sections in some classes, and let me get back to you on an answer with that.
Okay, great. The next question is a general question. It's not specific to SpeedGrader per se, but it is about setting up the app. Is it possible to set up the app and then push the app through an MDM?
For management, from what I understand, I haven't tried this with this, but I know with the Canvas app it does work, and the standards are there. So I would say probably, because they're mindful of that, but you'd have to test that out.
All right, next question has to do with your insight on the roadmap. So the question for you is, do you have any sense of the timing for the ability to add people?
A sense of the roadmap, I actually don't have anything direct. I did talk to the mobile product manager about some of the features that we talked about when we were doing the beta, modules, files, people, and blanking now, pages were all part of the spec of the app. And so they'll be released hopefully sometime. I don't know exactly when. If I took a guess, I would say hopefully for the end of the year, but I don't know that directly. And of course, roadmaps change over time. So, and one thing I did want to mention is that when they were building this application, the one thing that they really wanted to focus on is adding tools to this application first that were important, in the sense that this is when they did a lot of faculty focus groups. They even came to UCF. They asked teachers, what do you want? What do you want most? And these are the tools teachers wanted most. They wanted to be able to facilitate a course on the go. And so they focus on those tools because they didn't already exist in the student app. The student app had, people and had modules, had files, and had a lot of that content, but it didn't have the ability to be able to edit assignments and quizzes and have some functionality with announcements. And so that's what they were focusing on. So I see them making this more full-featured as they move forward. But this is the reason why they intentionally looked at these features first.
Okay, a few more questions coming in. First one here is, can you edit your profile through the app?
You can edit your profile in some degree on Android, but there's no profile editing yet on iOS.
All right. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, let's say one thing that's in the profile section as well that you cannot do on iOS, but you can do on Android. If you have to switch users, if you use different instances, or maybe you have different users because you're doing support, you cannot switch users yet on iOS, but you can switch them on Android.
Thanks for that clarification. Can you, through the app, add assignments, or do the assignments have to be added on the web first? I think that's part of the slide that you showed earlier about web and then going on to adding. So can you actually add an assignment?
You cannot add an assignment. You can't add. The only thing you can add is you can add an ungraded discussion. Everything else would have to be added directly through the web. And the philosophy behind this so far is that they did not want to get into teachers submitting graded assignments on a mobile device. And that may come down the road, but that's a philosophy right now that they're working on.
Thank you, Ryan. I don't see any additional questions. I hope I haven't missed anything that anyone has put in the chat. So what I'd like to do is just wait for another moment or so. And in the meantime, what I will do is I will add the link to the event in the chat. And that's where, if you have additional questions that perhaps arise after we wrap up this demonstration, you can feel free to put those in the comments section of the event itself. And Ryan will be following that, and he will be able to address your questions and follow up on questions that you've had during the demo. I'm not at this time seeing any additional questions. So with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone for attending today. And thank you so much, Ryan, for taking the time to share the demonstration with us. I'd like to remind all of you that Canvas Live is created by the community. It is by the community and for the community. So I would encourage you to please follow live.canvaslms.com so that you stay updated of upcoming events. You can join the Canvas Live user group, where you can collaborate, get together with other people to put together events and presentations that you can share with the community. And of course, join the Canvas Mobile Users Group to interact with other members, other people who are using the Canvas apps, and talk about how you're using the teacher app. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you all very much for being here. Thank you once again, Ryan, and everyone have a great day. Bye.